Orthodox Judaism is the approach to religious Judaism which subscribes to a tradition of mass revelation and adheres to the interpretation and application of the laws and ethics of the Torah as legislated in the Talmudist texts by the Tanaim and Amoraim. These texts were subsequently developed and applied by later authorities, known as the Gaonim, Rishonim, and Acharonim. Orthodox Judaism generally includes modern Orthodox Judaism and ultra-Orthodox or Haredi Judaism, but complete within is a wide range of philosophies. Although Orthodox Judaism would probably be considered the mainstream expression of Judaism prior to the 19th century, for some, Orthodox Judaism is a modern self-identification that distinguishes it from traditional pre-modern Judaism. As of 2001, Orthodox Jews and Jews affiliated with an Orthodox synagogue accounted for approximately 50% of British Jews, 26.5% of Israeli Jews and 13% of American Jews. Among those affiliated to a synagogue body, Orthodox Jews represent 70% of British Jewry and 27% of American Jewry, while some claim that the majority of Jews killed during the Holocaust were religiously Orthodox, numbering between 50 to 70% of those who perished. Researchers have shown that Jewish Orthodoxy was nearly extinct at the time, consumed by the Jewish Enlightenment, secular Zionism and the socialist movements of pre-war Europe. Terminology. Orthodoxy is not a single movement or school of thought. There is no single rabbinical body to which all rabbis are expected to belong, or any one organization representing member congregations. In the United States, there are numerous Jewish Orthodox organizations, such as Agudath Israel, the Orthodox Union, and the National Council of Young Israel. None of them can claim to represent a majority of all Orthodox congregations. In the 20th century, a segment of the Orthodox population disagreed with modern Orthodoxy and took a stricter approach. Such rabbis viewed innovations and modifications within Jewish law and customs with extreme care and caution. This form of Judaism may be referred to as Haredi Judaism or ultra-Orthodox Judaism. The latter term is controversial because some consider the label ultra-Orthodox pejorative. According to the New Jersey Press Association, several media entities refrain from using the term ultra-Orthodox, including the Religion News Writers Association, JTA, the Global Jewish News Service, and the Star-Ledger, New Jersey's largest daily newspaper. The Star-Ledger was the first mainstream newspaper to drop the term. Several local Jewish papers, including New York's Jewish Week and Philadelphia's Jewish Exponent, have also dropped use of the term. According to Rabbi Shimei Engelmeyer, spiritual leader of Temple Israel Community Center in Cliffside Park and former executive editor of Jewish Week, this leaves Orthodox as an umbrella term that designates a very widely disparate group of people very loosely tied together by some core beliefs. History. Roots of Orthodox Judaism. The roots of Orthodox Judaism can be traced to the late 18th or early 19th century, when elements within German Jewry sought to reform Jewish belief and practice. In the early 19th century, in response to the Age of Enlightenment, Jewish emancipation, and Haskalah, they sought to modernize education in light of contemporary scholarship. They rejected claims of the absolute divine authorship of the Torah, declaring only biblical laws concerning ethics to be binding, and stated that the rest of Halakha need not be viewed as normative for Jews in wider society. In reaction to the emergence of Reform Judaism, a group of traditionalist German Jews emerged in support of some of the values of the Haskalah, but also wanted to defend the classic, traditional interpretation of Jewish law and tradition. This group was led by those who opposed the establishment of a new temple in Hamburg, 1819, as reflected in the booklet Ele Divrei Habarit. As a group of Reform rabbis convened in Braunschweig, Rabbi Jacob Ettlinger of Altona published a manifesto entitled Shlomei Emunai Yisrael in German and Hebrew, having 177 rabbis sign on. At this time the first Orthodox Jewish periodical, Der True Zionswächter, was launched with the Hebrew supplement, Shomer Zion Hanman, 1845–1855. In later years it was Rav Ettlinger's students Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch and Rabbi Azriel Hildesheimer of Berlin who deepened the awareness and strength of Orthodox Jewry. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch commented in 1854, "It was not the Orthodox Jews who introduced the word orthodoxy into Jewish discussion. It was the modern, progressive Jews who first applied this name to old, backward Jews as a derogatory term. This name was at first resented by old Jews, and rightly so. Orthodox Judaism does not know any varieties of Judaism. It conceives Judaism as one and indivisible. It does not know a Mosaic, prophetic and rabbinic Judaism, nor Orthodox and liberal Judaism. It only knows Judaism and non-Judaism. It does not know Orthodox and liberal Jews. It does indeed know conscientious and indifferent Jews, good Jews, bad Jews or baptized Jews, all, nevertheless, Jews with a mission which they cannot cast off. They are only distinguished accordingly as they fulfill or reject their mission." Hirsch held the opinion that Judaism demands an application of Torah thought to the entire realm of human experience, including the secular disciplines. His approach was termed the Torah im Derech Eretz approach, or Neo-Orthodoxy. While insisting on strict adherence to Jewish beliefs and practices, he held that Jews should attempt to engage and influence the modern world, and encourage those secular studies compatible with Torah thought. This pattern of religious and secular involvement has been evident at many times in Jewish history. Scholars believe it was characteristic of the Jews in Babylon during the Amoraic and Geonic periods, and likewise in early medieval Spain, shown by their engagement with both Muslim and Christian society. It appeared as the traditional response to cultural and scientific innovation. Some scholars believe that modern orthodoxy arose from the religious and social realities of Western European Jewry. While most Jews consider modern orthodoxy traditional today, some within the Orthodox community groups to its right consider some elements to be of questionable validity. The Neo-Orthodox movement holds that Hirsch's views are not accurately followed by modern orthodoxy. See Torah im Derech Eretz and Torah Umada, relationship with Torah im Derech Eretz, for a more extensive listing. Development of Orthodox religious practice. Contemporary Orthodox Jews believe that they adhere to the same basic philosophy and legal framework that has existed throughout Jewish history, whereas the other denominations depart from it. Orthodox Judaism, as it exists today, is an outgrowth that claims to extend from the time of Moses to the time of the Mishnah and Talmud, through the development of oral law and rabbinic literature, until the present time. However, the Orthodox claim to absolute fidelity to past tradition has been challenged by scholars who contend that the Judaism of the Middle Ages bore little resemblance to that practiced by today's Orthodox. Rather, the Orthodox community, as a counterreaction to the liberalism of the Haskalah movement, began to embrace far more stringent halachic practices than the predecessors, most notably in matters of kashrut and Passover dietary laws, where the strictest possible interpretation becomes a religious requirement, even where the Talmud explicitly prefers a more lenient position, and even where a more lenient position was practiced by prior generations. Jewish historians also note that certain customs of today's Orthodox are not continuations of past practice, but instead represent innovations that would have been unknown to prior generations. For example, the now widespread Haredi tradition of cutting a boy's hair for the first time on his third birthday originated as an Arab custom that parents cut a newborn boy's hair and burned it in a fire as a sacrifice, and Jews in Palestine learned this custom from Arabs and adapted it to a special Jewish context. The Ashkenazi prohibition against eating kitniot during Passover was explicitly rejected in the Talmud, has no known precedent before the 12th century and represented a minority position for hundreds of years thereafter, but nonetheless has remained a mandatory prohibition among Ashkenazi Orthodox Jews due to their historic adherence to the Ramaz rulings in the Shulchan Aruch. Growth of Orthodox affiliation in practice. The emphasis on strictness has resulted in the rise of homogeneous enclaves with other Haredi Jews that are less likely to be threatened by assimilation and intermarriage, or even to interact with other Jews who do not share their doctrines. Nevertheless, this strategy has proved successful, and the number of adherents to Orthodox Judaism, especially Haredi and Hasidic communities, has grown rapidly. Some scholars estimate more Jewish men are studying in yeshivot and kollel students than at any other time in history. In 1915, Yeshiva College and its Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary was established in New York City for training in an Orthodox milieu. A school branch was established in Los Angeles, California. A number of other influential Orthodox seminaries, mostly Haredi, were established throughout the country, most notably in New York, Baltimore, Maryland, and Chicago, Illinois. Beth Medrash Govoha, the Haredi Yeshiva in Lakewood, New Jersey, is the largest Talmudist academy in the United States, with a student body of over 5,000 students.